Hello, my name is Françoise Molenaar and this is That Fertile Feeling, the podcast. If you've been trying to get pregnant for a while and you feel like life has lost a bit of its spark in the process, then this is the podcast for you. Every week I speak to experts and peers from around the globe to discover how you can connect to your feminine flow and stop trying so hard to conceive, and how to put some magic back in your life and your relationships. Are you ready to make life just a bit more effortless? Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to a new episode of That Fertile Feeling, the podcast. My name is Françoise and I'm here today with Manuela Fortunato. Again, someone who I found on Instagram. She has an amazing page where she shares so much about her own background. So she's a biologist, a registered dietitian, a former researcher in endocrinology, metabolism and lipid research. And now she uses all of that information, I think, combined with her more intuitive knowing on how to be a woman today and how to really stand in your feminine power. So welcome, Manuela, on the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm so excited for today.
And it sounds like you've had quite a journey. Can you tell us a little bit more about who you are, what you do, how you got here?
Yes. So I have two types of answers for this, actually, a long one and a short one. Which one do you want?
Let's do the long one.
Okay. So my family is Italian. I was born in New York, though,
Mm.
and then moved back to Italy, grew up here in Rome, and I started to have eating disorders as a teenager, which brought me closer to nutrition and understanding nutrition, because I wanted to understand what was going on and why was I obsessed with food. And then I became a biologist and got into research. I went back to the States and started to work as a researcher in endocrinology, metabolism, and lipid research. And in that moment where, all of my dreams were fulfilled, because I always wanted to become, a biologist and working into the field of hormones.
Mm.
That was the moment where I realized that something was off. Like, I was living my dream, but it didn't feel like a dream.
Mm.
I felt so disconnected from my body and from my values, because I came to understand, unfortunately, that in research, the funding basically comes to create new drugs, right?
Mm.
So we were working for not to understand actually the root causes of the imbalances in our hormones and metabolism, but just to use them as, to create something as a band-aid for them.
Mm.
And in that moment of, confusion with my career, I also had a very tough breakup that was a bigger trigger for my past traumas.
Mm.
And in that moment was, the darkest of my life, but was also the most cathartic one, because I also got diagnosed with PCOS
Mm.
right after the breakup. And I decided to quit my job as a researcher in the States and moved back to Italy. And I didn't have a plan B. I
Mm.
just, took my time to connect with my roots and my feminine energy, and heal and understand the root causes from the metabolic and hormonal point of view of PCOS. I was covered in acne. I couldn't recognize myself in
Mm.
the mirror. And I was so fatigued. I couldn't leave the bed in the morning. I was depressed, like really depressed.
Mm.
I had anxiety. I had digestive issues, thyroid issues, autoimmune issues. And so I took time to feel my feelings, feel my emotions, and create a structure for my physical body to go back to balance without any band-aid solution from conventional medicine, which told me that the only thing they could do was just giving me a pill, and that's it. Be infertile basically for life, which is something that most of the times they tell you with PCOS. And I just couldn't accept it. So that's how it started. That I basically became my mission to help women to understand, first of all, understand their own female biology, and create the physical structure so that the feminine energy and the softness and the expansion can follow. I feel that's my mission and the way I work. Structure and then everything else.
And you mentioned that from a Germanic perspective, you could really see that PCOS was triggered by your breakup. Can you elaborate a little bit on what you mean with that?
Yes, I will just touch on it. But in German new medicine, I love German new medicine for so many reasons. One of them is because it's basically a bridge between science and the emotional body. And the bridge is embryology. So when we are in our mom's womb, we start as a cell and then as a cluster of cells, and then we become an embryo and we become a baby eventually. And basically from those cells, like different layers and the different tissues start to form. And those layers, the embryonic layers, are the ones that make us understand how different parts of the body are connected without us realizing how, I don't know, like the liver could be connected with anything else in the body. And the brain basically has different areas that control different organs that might not be intuitively connected. And for example, with PCOS, the ovaries, the ovaries are basically the area where a specific conflict is triggered, let's say. And when we experience a trigger in, for example, from unfaithfulness or self-devaluation or separation, then the ovaries can be the area where the imbalance can happen. And I feel many women can resonate with, a breakup or, especially the cheating part, or, just feeling disconnected or not trusting the masculine can be very triggering for a woman and bring back, memories or traumas from the past. And that was the experience for me.
And then you mentioned that you found ways to get your body back in balance, or to allow your body to find that balance again. How did that follow from you starting to create space for emotions?
This is a beautiful question, because when we are experiencing the full of the symptomatology, like PCOS, like we are covered in acne, we are covered in hair in places we didn't even know they could be, and we have so much fatigue, and we don't ovulate sometimes, or we don't have our periods for many months. We are so confused and just like overwhelmed by everything, and we are in pain. And I feel like we want to do everything at once. So we start to see, oh, okay, this, and this, and it's just overwhelming. So I always want to start from a physical structure. When that, and I will share what I did for myself. and what I see most women with PCOS are experiencing. But when that structure is in place,
Mm-hmm.
a level of stress
Mm-hmm.
is the level of stress is down.
Mm-hmm.
So our mind can take space in
Mm-hmm.
understanding the deeper layers of the
Mm-hmm.
emotional body. So for me, understanding the connection with the breakup and the stress and the trauma that, brought up for me
Mm-hmm.
was something that I connected later. But first, I had to focus on the physical root causes. And for me, it had to do a lot with my adrenals, with
Mm-hmm.
my mitochondria, with my minerals. I have, I don't use testing
Mm-hmm.
for my one-to-one clients. I love to see the symptoms, the background, and just even the personality. Like even
Mm-hmm.
from personality, we can understand the mineral imbalances.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I did the same thing for myself, and I had a very imbalanced mineral situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then mitochondria is a big piece because mitochondria, I mean, we all know that mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell, but we don't grasp to the depth
Mm-hmm.
of what mitochondria actually does for us, which is breathing life into our body.
Mm-hmm.
With the mitochondria that are not fully alive, meaning fully nourished,
Mm-hmm.
our life force is dimmed,
Mm-hmm.
and the fire within our body is dimmed. So we feel fatigued, we feel imbalanced, and many other symptoms and even hormonal imbalances can happen. And ovulation is one of the key focuses in every woman, but especially if you're experiencing PCOS,
Mm-hmm.
where ovulation is very, how can I say, challenged.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to support ovulation in many ways. One of them is mitochondria, because think about that an average cell in our body has around 100, maybe 500 mitochondria per cell.
Mm-hmm.
The egg cell can
Mm-hmm.
have up to 600,000
Mm-hmm.
mitochondria. So if we are experiencing fertility challenges, anovulation,
Mm-hmm.
hormonal imbalances, excess estrogen, low progesterone,
Mm-hmm.
ovulation and mitochondria, they have to be in place. Like we need to focus on them.
Mm-hmm.
And mitochondrial work was and is one of my main love of my life. And I feel I'm so passionate about mitochondria. And it's something that, yeah, I feel we need to talk more about. And was one of the key points of my physical, how can I say it? Like balance, physical reconnection
Mm-hmm.
for my PCOS diagnosis a few
I
years ago.
love I love what you're saying because it sounds like you brought all of that knowledge that you had about the body, about our metabolisms, about our hormones, that innate knowledge of how the body works, and then you don't apply it as a scientist would, but as an intuitive would. That's what I'm getting from your story, even as you say, when you work with your clients, it's not about doing the testing, it's about connecting to the person in front of you and their symptoms and seeing, okay, how did you detect your own mineral imbalances then? Is that also just by reading your own body?
First of all, thank you for saying this. I got goosebumps
Mm,
because I honestly feel. I mentioned before that I was frustrated with the academic world and being a researcher, but I feel that happened for a reason. Like I'm so grateful for everything, my mentors and my PIs. Everything they did for me and the knowledge they gave me. But at the same time, I've been able to melt and bring different parts of knowledge and wisdom, and also ancestral wisdom and intuitive wisdom together when I work with women. And I feel this is super important because as women, we have been disconnected from our own wisdom and our just like intuitive knowledge that it feels it's so underrated and almost ridiculed at a certain point. So yeah, thank you for saying this. And the mineral part. This is an interesting question. I will try to give an answer because it's more like experience and intuitive based. Just from my experience with biology, every mineral, like for example, magnesium, let's take magnesium, is one of my ultimate favorite minerals. Magnesium makes you feel like relaxed and present. And when you are under stress or you are coming in touch with a trauma, that magnesium is immediately burned down because you are under stress. Your adrenals and many other organs are requiring a lot of it. So you are depleted and you are feeling like disconnected from your body and not present. So when I speak with them, they say things like, I don't know how to connect with my feminine energy. I don't know how to feel my body. And I feel I'm not present in my body. And I'm always stressed. I don't know, I wake up at night or like things like this. And that's how I understand minerals. And yeah.
I love that.
And
I love that you can just say, this is what a mineral feels like in your body.
yeah, and
Makes so
every
much sense.
mineral
Yeah.
has a personality.
Mm.
And I need to speak more about this, but I have a new program where I go deeper into the mineral world. And I feel maybe when this airs, it will be launched. But this new program is called the Feminine Body, which is a connection between the feminine energy and the female biology mixed with ancestral nourishment. So I feel this is like I'm pregnant with this program and I'm about to birth it into the world. And it's going to be very beautiful and very important also for this mineral discussion. But every mineral has a personality. And especially, for example, potassium is another mineral I love. And when someone is depleted, they feel like so fatigued. They cannot move their muscle as much. They feel heart palpitations. They feel like when they move, they can never recover. And they also feel they can never recover from emotional stress as well. And it's just a dance between the minerals and the personality that each one of them has. Very interesting.
Great. That's my problem with recording this show. Like, I'm always so excited about my guests, I end up buying everything. So it's really expensive for me to do this.
I love it. I love it.
But I might sign up for your program. So you were mentioning the mitochondria. They're the powerhouses of the cells, especially in the in the follicles. So you were
In the
600,000?
egg cell,
The egg
in the
cells.
oocyte.
Yeah. So I imagine they need a lot of energy. Is that what you were started working on your own recovery?
Oh my God, you are asking me the best questions ever. I'm so happy to be here. Yes, I feel this is the first step that every woman with an imbalance, whether is it from hormonal or metabolic, every woman should find a way to create space where this space can be filled with nourishment, because our body needs so much nourishment to become alive. Like I feel like you can live in your body and not be fully alive. Like you can survive. There is a difference between surviving and thriving. And I feel in order to become fully alive and thrive in your world, not only be like with less symptoms or with no symptoms, but like really thrive, you need to be nourished and feel that aliveness from a cellular level. And that starts from mitochondria, because mitochondria literally create a fire in our cells. And thanks to mitochondria, we can burn all the nourishing foods and create energy. So yeah, I love mitochondria and I love nourishment and I love food. It's not a coincidence I moved back to Italy.
This is
Yeah.
this is a coincidence. Actually, I have an upcoming program that's called Nourished.
You
It's
see?
all about like for every part of your fertility journey, seeing how can you make it a really nourishing experience where you feel like, the only thing you control is how well you take care of yourself along the way. That's what I always say when you're trying to get pregnant. You cannot control the outcome, but you can control how well you prepare or how well you take care of yourself along the way and really
Yeah,
connect to that feeling of deep nourishment. So I love this.
beautiful.
Hi there. I'm quickly dropping in to let you know that I did actually just launch this program, Nourish, that I'm talking about here. It's a meditation bundle with 10 guided practices that help you find that nourishment in every area of your fertility journey, in your body, in your emotional landscape, on a spirit level as well. I found it so beautiful that this topic came up here on this episode, so I decided to create a discount code, Venus, VENUS. And if you use that this week up until Friday, September 13th of 2024, you only pay 39 euros instead of 44. So again, discount code Venus, VENUS, and you can sign up for Nourished at thatfertilefeeling.com/nourished. And now back to the episode. But you were mentioning food, so I imagine that food plays a big role in
Oh my gosh,
supporting these
yes.
mitochondria.
Of course. I mean, my blood is basically pasta. Like my blood is Italian, and I grew up, yeah, with my grandmas, my nonnas, and yeah, like making food, connecting with food, and food being part of our social life, not only as sustainment. Um, this has been huge for me because it made me understand that there is more to food than just calories, numbers, and nutrients. It's food is life and love, and it connects us all as community as well, because it starts from the soil and animals and the people who take care of them. And that's also why I'm so grateful for our regenerative farmers. And I invest a lot in regenerative businesses and women, especially in the regenerative farming space. But yeah, nourishment is so important for me, and connecting especially with the ancestral nourishment has been has brought so much softness into my life as a woman, and especially the zabaglione latte, which I find the best drink and nourishment for a woman, because it's basically egg yolks and raw milk and honey, and which means retinol, choline, lactoferrin, which are, the foundations of for a woman to be able to ovulate, for example. Without retinol, it's very difficult to be able to release the egg and ovulate.
Mm.
So for a woman to be fully fertile and to have a stable ovulation, retinol is one of the most important nutrients. And especially for someone with PCOS, where ovulation is so challenged, or for someone going through fertility challenges. I never say infertility, but I love to say fertility challenges.
Mm.
Retinol is one of the most important nutrients ever. And when I say retinol, retinol is vitamin A, but it's
Mm-hmm.
the active form, and it's not the same thing as beta carotene, which is
Mm-hmm.
the pre-vitamin A, which is found also in plants
Mm-hmm.
like carrots. But many of us, most of us actually, don't have the enzyme to
Mm-hmm.
convert pre-vitamin A into the active form of vitamin A, so
Mm-hmm.
retinol. And that's why it's so important for women to have a steady nourishment of retinol. And when I say retinol, many women are like confused because they think about
Mm.
skincare and
Yeah.
retinol.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, let's demystify retinol and just think about retinol as the nutrient in foods. And retinol is found in egg yolks, in dairy, in grass-fed meat,
Mm.
and I feel it's one of the most important nutrients for a woman, for sure.
Mm. So that means that you would also advise anyone not to adopt a vegan lifestyle, I imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I have so many infos about this. I speak about this topic a lot on my page,
Mm.
and in my programs. I was plant-based when I was in the States for quite some times, just because I didn't like, I was aware of, the problem of conventional meat and
Mm-hmm.
dairy, but I didn't know there were other options. Like, I didn't know anything about regenerative farming and how life-changing that is, not only for the animals, but for the soil and therefore for our health.
Mm.
So instead of, having a black and white view, like conventional, like yes or no, like no meat or conventional meat,
Mm-hmm.
you can find another option, which is still consuming animal products, but from quality.
Mm.
And that also has an impact on the environment. There are many books that speak about the importance of regenerative farming for our animals, but also for the environment.
Mm.
And, that's why I'm very passionate about including animal products for women.
Yeah. And when I listen to you, when you talk about this ancestral connection to food, I'm also reminded of a podcast I did with a Jewish priestess. It was last year,
Mhm.
who focused very much on the ritual of preparing food and eating. And she said it's really about connecting to the essence of what you're putting in your mouth, even maybe
Mhm.
even, um, and that's what I'm sort of hearing in your story as well. It's really
Mhm.
coming back to a really mindful way of eating, of nourishing yourself, where
Mhm.
you're fully connected, maybe on an intuitive level almost to the
Yeah,
ingredient.
I came to realize that to be fully alive, what we were saying before for our mitochondria,
Hmm.
thanks to our mitochondria, to become fully alive, you need to have fun.
Mm.
And I have so much fun when I'm nourished.
Hmm.
Otherwise, like when I'm not nourished, if I'm not nourished, how difficult it is to have fun because you're not fully alive. Like you don't have the space and energy to have fun.
Mm.
And when I nourish myself and I connect with food, that's where magic happens. And I had examples growing up, so I feel like I've been very lucky and privileged to see my nonna, like baking and making everything from scratch. And it was very magical as a little kid to witness this.
Mm.
And also my mom, actually, she when she makes, I don't know, crostata or lasagna and making pasta with her hands, everything from scratch, and mixing flour with eggs and butter and creating that mess. That's the
Mhm.
feminine, like where you bring different things together. It looks like a mess. You are, in the meantime, you're having fun, and then something beautiful comes out.
Mm.
And I feel that was a big gift from my life, like from my ancestral roots and my lineage. And that's why I'm so passionate about sharing this, also to women maybe who didn't grow up with these kind of models.
Mm.
And you can have fun and nourish yourself, and create that intentionality behind nourishment just by having fun. Like, make space in your life to talk to your butcher, talk to your farmer, talk to the people, to the community around you, and find, the businesses that you want to support and buy the foods from them, and then go home and take even just, half an hour, 1 hour to bake a recipe from your childhood, or that the recipe, your best friend's favorite recipe, and gift it to them, or just share a meal with them and invite them over. And that's the most nourishing thing on earth, I feel.
Mm.
And that is almost as healing as the most expensive supplement that you can buy. So yeah, it's very fun to
Why,
be.
but why do you think it's so difficult for us to have fun and to be nourished? What has happened along the
Yeah,
way?
because our society is created to disconnect ourselves from our own body, and especially our womb, which is
Mm.
the center of life. Our womb, my womb, has become my compass in life. Like, if sometimes I'm unsure or, confused about something, I always like take a moment, breathe, and like say in my womb the two options or three options or whatever it is, or the question.
Mhm.
And when my womb vibrates, that's the path
Mm.
I'm gonna take. And our society has made us disconnect from our womb. And another part of my journey, actually, that I'm feeling like sharing in this moment was when I was diagnosed with cervical dysplasia.
Mm.
And it led me to a path towards connecting back to my cervix, which was the hardest thing I've ever done, probably. It was so confronting. I was so resistant to come in touch with her, in contact and in touch with her. Um, and I asked for help, and I found some mentors, some women who helped me, led me through this kind of connection with my own body.
Mhm.
And and then I did the same, and I created a program at Your Cervix,
Mhm.
where me and Chloe Skerlach, have led women towards understanding their cervix, coming in contact with them, and also supporting the tissue from a nourishment point of view.
Mm.
Everything we were talking about, from mitochondria to retinol, and to regenerate the tissue, the elasticity. But yeah, connecting with cervix has been so confronting, but I feel that's the core of our physical and emotional body and our nervous system, because the vagus nerve, starts from the brain and ends up in the cervix. And this is a fact that in the medical books is never mentioned. Like they say it ends up in the either, just vaguely mentioning the reproductive system, but never mentioning the cervix. And yeah, most of the times they say, like things like cervix doesn't feel anything. And imagine when they remove IUDs, they don't even say that it won't women. And most of them faint because their vagus nerve is just overwhelmed by, just triggered by the removal. And I'm so speechless that conventional medicine is so unaware of the female reproductive system. And that's why we do what we do, right? Like we went through things ourselves that led us to deeper into the body, going through the journey ourselves and then leading our other women through the same journey.
Yeah, definitely. And when you say you were working with your cervix, does that mean you were doing like hands-on massage, or was it also connecting energetically to what you were sensing there?
Yeah, it's there are always many layers. When I say, the kind of work that I do is never A that leads to B, is never linear, because we are not linear as men. We are women, we go in waves, ups and downs, and we have many layers. And to connect with cervix, I went through different layers, the physical layers. So yeah, massaging my even just finding my cervix was a journey. Like I was so unaware. Like I knew anatomically how, where I should find my cervix in the vagina. But actually touching my cervix was so weird at the beginning. Like I didn't know what I should feel when I entered my body. And the sensations that came up were just discomfort. And also my cervix was so hidden in the left side. Like my feminine energy was basically hidden in my body because she didn't feel safe. And over time, my cervix and my uterus realigned in my body. But that's why hands-on work is almost a must for women, because either the lifestyle or the emotional traumas we go through change the physical space inside our womb. And you also do an incredible thing with abdominal massage, and I feel these are the tools that we need women to come in touch again, like literally in touch, like hands-on work with our body, connecting with our body, be present with our body is the most important thing.
Yeah. And
Along
I love that you're saying in touch again, because that's also what comes up in my interviews. This is something we've always done, something we've forgotten now in this age, but it's really basic self-care for women, for fertility, for just health, menstrual health, hormonal health.
True. And I feel this is an important message, because this is not something that is new to our cellular memory. This is not something new, like understanding our female biology and her phases, like follicular, ovulatory, luteal, menstrual, and understanding how to support the different phases, the different hormones, even metabolism shifts throughout the 4 phases. But ancestrally, the women just knew it intuitively because they were, they spoke about it from lineage to lineage. And somehow forward to the modern day, women just we almost forgot about this ancestral memory, but it takes one woman to remember. And that's why I always say we are here to remember, because it's in ourselves. Like we already know, we have forgotten sometimes. And just, by being led and being in community and just asking for help, I feel it's super important. Like being held by women, by other women, is healing. And was healing for me, and I see the healing in my clients, like the most incredible journeys I could have ever imagined, ever. Like from going to, being quote unquote infertile, to birthing healthy babies, to being quote unquote diagnosed menopause, to have a regular cycle again, from having PCOS or endometriosis or I don't know, vulvodynia labels, to thriving in their female bodies, from having quote unquote allergies to enjoying food again. And it's not magic. It's just understanding female body, understanding nervous system, immune system, mitochondria, cellular work, mineral balance, fascia, German new medicine. Like so many things so many layers go into the work that I do, and it's very beautiful because when you're held by a woman, you give yourself the space to remember, and it's very simple at the same time. Like it doesn't have to be super complicated, and it doesn't have to be painful. It might be painful when we resist the work and we resist coming in touch with our physical and emotional body. And that's why it's important to be held by other women who maybe went through the same thing, because they know what you're feeling, and they know how to hold space for them. We know how to hold space for them. And it's beautiful.
And so we started with your healing journey. So for you, it was the so body first, right? You said finding that mineral balance, working with your mitochondria, and then once you had that structure in place, you said you could also look at the more emotional aspects that were there. Were there certain ways in which you achieved that? How did you move on to that more emotional layer?
I feel understanding German new medicine was a big piece for me, because it made me connect with conflicts that were in my body, but I was so resistant to even come close to them, to just, like sense them, but then I shut down. Over time, when you start to work on the physical, you become more confident, because you feel you have more energy, you feel more grounded. That's the thing, you feel more grounded, so you feel more confident to look deeper into yourself without the safety being threatened. So you're able to, even just by reading books or hearing stories or talking to a therapist, or coming in connection with conflicts and traumas, you just know internally that there are some traumas from the past, and patterns as well. And when you become more confident, you tell yourself like, okay, now it's time. I cannot hide myself anymore, you know, I cannot escape this facing. And also, yeah, the cervix was, so the cervix is like the face, and it's called the neck, the neck of the uterus. And then where, you know, we can develop cervical dysplasia or, you know, lesions from HPV. It's and the space, the cervical os, the mouth of the cervix, the hole of the cervix that opens and closes, opens in ovulation and closes in other phases. That's called the face of the cervix. And I feel the energetics here it's like you need to come face to face with your trauma. And cervical work was the moment for me to stop hiding and to say, okay, it's time to face this. It's time to come in touch, connect, and face and integrate the things that I haven't digested in the past. That's also why I was having so many digestive issues. Yeah.
And so are you completely free of all of those symptoms and things that you were dealing with now? Do you feel like you're fully
Yeah, I don't have symptoms. I feel it's the emotional journey is almost like a life journey. And I'm still discovering new layers and discovering more about myself. And I never want to say like I'm healed. Like, why? I don't know. I don't like labels. I don't like to say, you know, I was broken and now I'm healed. I never, I don't want any woman to feel like you need to fix, you know, you're never broken. You're just remembering, you're just discovering new things about yourself and new ways to be present in your body instead of hiding and hiding even under a label. Like unfortunately, I see many women that are so almost connected with their diagnosis, like, oh, I have endometriosis, so that's impossible for me, or oh, I have this, or whatever label. And that prevents you from the possibility of thriving, of having the life that you dream of. So I feel like this is an important language suggestion that I want to bring more light on.
It also sounds like because I can imagine, and I not imagine, I know that many women who are trying to conceive have their checklist of all the things they need to be doing to improve their fertility. But I feel there's also a mindset thing here when it comes to, and maybe that's what you're also getting at. That it's not about you healing yourself, it's about remembering. And in that remembering, you can actually find also that different mindset. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
It definitely does. I feel there is a fine line between creating the proper structure so that your body can thrive to becoming obsessed and, you know, becoming like almost robotic in your checklist, the checklist that you mentioned. So I feel like you can invest in creating the structure for your physical body and at the same time remember and have fun. Yeah.
With the fun comes maybe the mindset shift.
Yeah.
Or the fun is the mindset shift. It's about finding the pleasure, the nourishment. Yeah.
I feel it's the same thing. The same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember at the beginning you mentioned something about control. Or maybe it was just when we were chatting between the two of us.
No, I did say that you're like, you cannot control whether you get pregnant or not.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, I feel like many of us, myself included, have been wired to have everything under control at all times.
Mm.
Maybe because, we didn't have the familiar structure or safety, so we needed to have everything under control and be responsible. Or, we didn't feel safe in our emotional body, so we focused our control in things that we could control. That's also how I developed eating disorders in the first place.
Yeah.
But especially with fertility and getting pregnant, that's the time to integrate the need for control.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for such a beautiful conversation. There were so many new insights for me. I'm actually going to listen to this again after I've
I love
recorded it
it.
because I feel there's so many, like this can take my work in lots of new directions as well. So I'm very grateful for that.
Well, I'm so happy.
Is there what would be your general message for anyone who's dealing with fertility issues and or pregnancy loss?
I feel I want to reiterate what I said a few moments ago, to combine creating a structure for yourself with enjoying life and living a life of pleasure. Like, if you're doing, all the perfect things, but you're not having fun and enjoying life and having pleasure while you do those things, it's almost counterproductive. So you can, create the structure for yourself, but at the same time, you need to live a life of pleasure and nourishment and fun. So if you're experiencing any fertility challenges, or you just want to create be in the best space within your body to start a conception journey, I feel like mitochondrial work is the number one, because as women, we are the only ones who can pass down the mitochondrial DNA. So mitochondria have their own set of DNA. It's called mitochondrial DNA, and it's only mothers can pass it down. Only women can pass it down. So doing mitochondrial work is literally life-changing. Like, you can heal generational trauma, you can avoid, to pass it down, and you can also create the best structure for fertility to occur, and for higher possibility for conception to happen in the best possible way, also for having to have the best pregnancy. So mitochondrial work would be my first focus, and then nourishment and having fun. Everything we shared already is the other side, but also something I love to share with my clients in their conception journey or pregnancy journey is to, if they have the chance to speak with their mothers and grandmas, how was their pregnancy? How, if they have any stories, or, I haven't, I'm not pregnant, but I love talking about this with my grandma. And I discovered so much trauma that was held and passed down from their stories. And it takes some work for us to do, for energetically, to avoid to bring forward the traumas that are encoded in our cellular memory.
It's a really important message, I feel. And I love that you're having those conversations and finding out things about yourself that you can then really take with you on your own healing journey.
It was part of my cervical journey, actually,
Oh, yeah.
because but yeah, it's when I speak about cervix, and especially in the At Your Cervix program, like we touch on so many layers. And pregnancy. Actually, one of the women became pregnant through the program because working on cervix like literally is life changing and can open up yourself to life. And cervix is the portal of life and death, right? Death through menstruation, because that's the uterus that we release when pregnancy doesn't occur, and life when we ovulate and during conception.
Well, thank you so much for a beautiful conversation. If listeners want to find out more about you and your work, where should they go?
I'm on Instagram, the Holistic Venus. In Italian is La Venere Holistica. It means the Holistic Venus. And they can connect with me there. I talk about ancestral, nourishment, feminine, female biology, mitochondria, mineral, German medicine, many things. And we have fun. So you can connect with me there. And I have all my offerings there, my courses, programs, bundles, everything.
Because you mentioned already, so there's the cervix At Your Cervix. I think I saw you have a PCOS bundle as well.
I have a PCOS bundle, I have an acne bundle, endometriosis bundle, one to get off birth control, so you can, if you're on birth control, how to, safely quit birth control and work on the mineral, metabolic, hormonal imbalances that can happen when you quit. But that's the best place. And then I have my one-to-one consultations. That's where more personalized magic happens, because we work one-on-one. So we have the time and space to go very, very, very deep into the body and the physical and emotional body.
So at the Holistic Venus on Instagram, I'll put that in the show notes as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
This was so fun. I'm really happy.
I enjoyed it too. Yeah. Thanks also to the listeners for tuning in this week. If you want to reach out to me, you can find me on Instagram at thatfertilefeeling or email me at francoise@thatfertilefeeling.com. I always love to hear from you and I always get back to you and hope to see you back in 2 weeks. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to That Fertile Feeling, the podcast. If you like what you heard, then please head over to your preferred podcast player and subscribe to the show. It would also be great if you could leave a review and rating so that other listeners can find the show easily. And if you think that anyone you know could benefit from the materials on this show, then go ahead and share it with them. It would be much appreciated. I look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye, love.